All right, collective. So um, today is June 6th, 6 Portal Day. It's a very sacred day. Um, and it's started recording at 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was an accident. That was very nice. Um, or divinely guided, however you want to take that. So today's energy, a lot of the downloads I got were mainly from the Orion celestial tribe, but a lot of their narrative looked and sounded like a lot of what I've been already saying, which lets me know that there was some form of alignment that's been happening over time. And now, like I said, my take this as an example that one of my colonies, tribes, that is unworldly of Earth, has taken note of and transmitted back that they definitely hear me, and I see it every day. But today I woke up and I don't know if anyone else has been seeing spiders, but I'm not a big fan of them. But in my algorithm, the Spider-Man multiverse or whatever one that is, was coming up a lot in my algorithm. I was like, I don't even watch Spider-Man. But the significance is, the nets and the webs and the links and, the plan nets and the plan ETs and, all that. ET's plan and those things. But, but most of, the message for today is mainly, it's the sacredness of today is harmony, respect, dignity and respect, kindness, and all the other things that I speak about, compassion, and really finding that family that understands you and understands you for your user interface, and that it coming into fruition in the physical. And so this morning I had woke up and I go to the restroom, I see a spider, and it was the same one I've seen, probably a different one, but it was like around the same area that I've seen it before. But just like, I see you, and then I'll go about my day. And but spiders also signify and are symbolic to knowing that you are on your right path in the web of webs, in the multiverse, the universe, the things, all the things in the universe, in the multiverses, and there's more. There's always more. And the fact that a lot of mindsets are tied into the world and being of the world, speaks a lot of, it's like there's so much more out there. And there were a lot of people and individuals thought I didn't know that, but I was like, I've always known that. I just needed to get away from those that didn't. They wanted to pry on my process, and they didn't want to fall in love with my process, but they were in love with my story, but they weren't willing to give me the respect and kindness and accolades and all the things I deserve for existing and being authentic and unique, and standing and living in my truth, and being unconditionally loving to myself. And that always would attract a lot of individuals and lost souls, and and I know that about myself, but there came a point, like I was saying in yesterday's message, but I uploaded it today, that you know um, they they don't get to, like, I've delegated out the energies that I've been holding space for so long, and today showed that full circle. So the spider symbol happened, and then I go to a place that I usually go to, and while I'm there, there's a certain spot I like to sit in, and when there's other individuals sitting around in that spot, I'll usually ask permission, and ask if I can sit there, and it's like because I know spiritually that has a lot of significance, but when you ask to sit at someone's table or space, and there's a consentful yes, portal of harmony, dignity, and respect opens up, and we are then we're rewarded in the spirit with the same and more in most cases, because being kind and asking is a protective energy, and it's not ever said like that, but I'm saying it now because that's what it is. It lets someone know, like, I see you, may I come in? And that wasn't given to me. People just wanted to, they thought, because I'm an advocate, and because I'm an INFJ, and I'm assertive, and all these other amazing things about me, they thought, because we're part of a rare group, and because it tied in with civil services, and because I, have just always carried that high vibration and that leadership, they thought that it was okay just to come in and sit at my table, and they infiltrated my table, and I was like, well, I burned those tables, and then I went and made new tables because I know how to do that. But there's a lot that I got, but most of it was just, today's a very sacred day. It's a portal day, so I needed to speak some truth into the spirit, for and my intention is to protect the collective, and especially the entrepreneurs and the LGBTQ plus, and the purpose that we all have, but specifically those ones, for this month and continuation of that. But so on this day, 6 June 2024, there's this there's a different type of D-Day, and it's a divine invasion day, and it's specifically to the spirit Othifo, oh my gosh, can't even say it. AHITHOPHEL. I was able to say that before, so it's kind of weird that it doesn't want to be spoken about, but I'll spell it out. So in 2nd Samuel, I was, kind of just wondering, what message I was going to have today. And, sometimes I get some that I'm like, this is just not, I'm just not feeling it. And today I just wasn't feeling it. I was trying. So I realized that, today is just supposed to be a present day, a day where I'm just present and existing. And, I've been talking a lot about a war god, and that is this Ahithophel. And ultimately he fell, but this one was kind of interesting because I originally, opened up my Bible, and I was just like kind of waiting on the message. And but before that, I sit at this table with these women, and I overhear them talking about their children, and how they're women, and they're so concerned, and mentioning worried about them not finding friends, and like just all these things, and like that they're not going to fit in. And I'm like, well, that makes sense that that happened, because I've been talking a lot about that. But that's how that happens, is when you start creating your own narrative, and you're with good intentions, those opportunities to speak into those situations happen. And I was intentionally trying to do that, but I was like, can I sit here? May I sit here? And like, oh yeah, da, da. And then they said something, and then it was like I chimed in. And there's times where I want to chime in, but I don't, because I'm guided not to. And then this was one of those times where it's like, you should chime in. So I did, and it was more accepted than I expected it to be. But so the main one showing more concern was I found out towards the end of our interaction that that woman works in has a master's in human resources and personal development and finance. And I was like, oh well, I have my master's in other things, but ultimately I've aligned with human resources consulting, and that's another reason why Valerie Beans and I found each other. But so we talk about all these things, and that the woman that works with human resources seems to have what she didn't have like a bad energy about her. It's just there's a narrative that needed to be kind of cut out, but I wasn't intentionally trying to do that. But it was her body language later that really started, and her thoughts, starting to pick up on her thoughts. And she's trying to send the thought energy, and I'm speaking about these things and the seeds and all that. And so seeds are planted, and I know they were heard and acknowledged by her, but there were just certain spirits and things about surrounding her that were trying to that were very distorted in a way. And I picked up on it, but I wasn't quite noticing it, and I just kept on pushing forward. And today's also a day to really push forward and be your authentic self, and to own, stand in your power and own your authenticity, and your your journey, and really speak it out there, and be you, and own what you do. And so I kept pushing forward despite this lady's, you know, negative spirits and other things trying to, come towards me and push, kind of me out of wanting to say anything. And I was like, we ain't doing that today. We don't do that ever, really. There's times where I'm like, yeah, I'm done with the conversation, and I get to choose when I'm done with that conversation. But the interesting things were that she mentioned friends, and she said it's funny how relationships are, where you know, when you're in a romantic relationship, you have they're easy to get out of, but then you always have your friends. And then I came in and I said, well, you know what, that's all great, and that's a pattern. And she noted it was interesting, and I said, yeah, but what's more interesting is the speaking truth to the fact that there are a lot of times your friends and your family will hold you back from you experiencing your true love, your true divine counterpart, your high level soulmate on the romantic level, like or just a soulmate. Like there are some friends you have that are like soulmates, and there are some that they're seasonal, and that's what started the conversation, because she just kept talking about friends, and that's kind of been a theme with mine as well, and the color yellow and all those things. But it's like friends aren't everything. You have to know how to also stand on your own, and luckily for me, I didn't have a lot of friends that tried to speak against who I was with, because I was wise enough to know that you don't necessarily date anyone within the same area of where pretty much you don't date in the same area that you spend most of your time, because that doesn't show growth. And that's kind of a lot of what the LGBTQ community is we all definitely just did the hard learned lessons, and went outside of all the things. But it was an example to show, like, it's to kill and lay to rest the demon of the nepotism and the nepotists and all that. And so she's just talking about friends and all that, and I was like, yeah, it's great, but ultimately, we want our children, and we want people around us to find true love, and very genuinely be happy for those that find that true deep love, because everyone deserves it. Even my enemies deserve it, because I know that will heal them, because that is why they were mainly my enemies, is because no one showed them love, and then when I did, they got too detached, and then they got pissed, and then all these things happened, and it was like their issues with me. And that's it's that cycle, but it's all because too many people are given their advice, or their 2 cents, or their they're speaking all kinds of things into your love life, and a lot of people allow that to happen, and they just think it's normal, and it's not, because they're speaking that stuff. And I've witnessed some other things where this other I'll just say lady, because she was just a very to say it, but her, she made eye contact with me quite a bit when I walked into this place, but she still sat there, but it was like her soul, recognized my energy and was like, hey, come here. But I was like, I'm not going to go sit over there. I'm not sitting at the table with whatever that lady's thrown out, because it made me tired, really tired. And as she was talking, her face started turning red. But I find it interesting that oh my gosh, these things are always so much. But the there's the soul language and there's body language. And when I was a teenager, I read this book called I Know What You're Thinking or something. So I learned body language, and then I noted it, but then ultimately I ended up forgetting it, because once I learned something, I run the cycle because I read it. It was in my subconscious, and then I moved on after it all happened. And so that's when I sort of quickly went through a process and started going more in depth with reading the soul language, and then that was a longer process. But the thing with the lady with her face turning red, and just me being present, but noticing the signs, because most people would do the if they're an outgoing, very extroverted, they would probably be like, hey, do I know you from somewhere, or something crazy like that. But I say crazy like that because you don't always want to entertain someone else's demons like that and go into their space, and sit at the table with them. And so I didn't do any of that. I was just like, I ain't sitting over there with you. And it's like I was really speaking to this woman's soul. But today, this other woman who works in HR, she's vibing, her friends vibing, we're all having a great conversation. But then there came a point where, after we were talking about the friendship thing, because I could tell she was really invested with that, part. But when I said, well, what's more interesting is this part of it, and I started talking about the spirit, and then all of a sudden her demeanor changed, but not like in a bad way. It was just because she was still good. It was just and it wasn't like a really strong energy, but I picked up on just the things that were surrounding her, and I'm like, what is the spirit trying to come through this woman right now? Because it's like she wasn't like that, and then all of a sudden it happened, and because I mentioned spirit, and then the portal opened, and this was all unintentional, but I just was present and took lead in the situation. But I wasn't even expecting having the conversation with them, but it just happened. And so so then I say that, and then all of a sudden, she starts kind of, a little fidgety, and she starts, adjusting herself, like taking her, she's wearing one of those long, it's like that moo material, but it's like a really flowy material, sundressy material, I guess, or something like that. But it, I don't know what you call it. It looks like a big, huge vest, but it's like something you put over your swimsuit, But she's wearing something like that, and she's just taking the sides of it, and she like it's a coat, and she's trying to put on a coat of armor because something got exposed in the moment, and I'm just and when it happened, I saw the energy shift, and it went from two people being super interested, and she's still trying to stay engaged, but then all of a sudden her friend scooted in her seat and leaned more into the table, and I was mainly set up at the table, on the other side of it, but she was fully engaged in what I was saying, and kind of still trying to keep her friend in sight. Her platonic soulmate. That was what their relationship is, and you can see it and feel it if you really know. And so it was. She's really trying to keep the engagement there, but as her HR friend starts adjusting more and moving, like she's just more and more starts leaning, into what I'm saying, and I found it very interesting, but I didn't really think about it until after they left. But there was this thought coming off where the HR lady was just kind of like, like something on her just didn't want to grow that day or today or whatever. But it was good because the fact that I sat there, I didn't even know what would unfold. Something very positive happened, and so it's because she does all the same things, and they're very aligned with what I've already been doing and done. She she's able to get adjusted in the spirit and not just in the flesh, and so that was what was happening. Those spiritual adjustments, as I know, are a lot of times they can be uncomfortable, but she stayed. She didn't try to leave, and she was like, oh, I gotta go to work in like 10 minutes, and and then she was there longer than 10 minutes after that, and I'm like, I totally get that, because she was very in the moment. That's how I knew that she was still present in the moment, because and the things were working through her, the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, and all the things, but for me it was a lot of a preparatory command, and I'm like, what's going on with this lady? But I just feel her thoughts and hear them. She's just kind of like, just saying, shut up, and can we move on from this? And it was very uncomfortable, but I'm like, I'm comfortable, I'm fine. Her friend was fine, like, we're fine. And that's the thought energy I was sending back, but not in a malicious way, but just like we're okay, it's okay, like trying to be very comforting, and my thought seeds with my nurturing motherly energy. And but I was, we talked about a lot of different things, but ultimately I told those two women that instead of being so concerned about if your kids are going to make the friends, and I gave examples of myself, because we're all in some way connected, but I was it's always about the children, and there's adult children, and I'm an adult child in ways because I'm in love and intact and in tune with my inner child. But I told him, I was like, just the best advice I can give you is, as mothers and as parents, just be in love with your children's process. And when you really embrace being in love with their process and watching them grow, they absorb that, they catch the seed, because it's a big seed, and then they learn how to be in love with themselves, and they're secure in themselves, and they don't turn to being fall into the nepotism. They don't fall into the insecurities. They're strong, and they know how to stand alone and be leaders. And I think that's a lot of stuff in human resources that doesn't get spoken into existence and spelled out enough. And that's a big reason why got into human resources, not just because of I just saw the systems and things that were just broken and they weren't working, and ultimately built new ones. But it was already there for me. You know, it was just waiting for me to embrace it. But I'm going to cut this one off here at 3020. Just so it'll upload faster later. And then I'm going to make another one going into what that spirit of that was trying to come through, and that the divine exposed to me what that spirit was and the one that I was dealing with in the past. So this is like the preparatory message to the other one. Sorry, I had a squirrel moment. Yeah, so take note of that, and then I'm gonna make a part 2.